it's a mature film, and it handles the subjects very well, and it's really well done. But it's action packed, really, when you think about it, and it's full of like amazing actors. So it's really good. I hadn't seen it, and I'm glad I finally watched it. It's been on my list forever.
You're welcome.
Tip of the hat,
A tip of the critic's hat to you.
Big 4, more like Big 5 critical breakdown on that list now.
Oh!
Here comes the theme!
Hello and welcome.
What?
It was your
Keep it. No, keep going.
entertained but
We got
disappointed
it.
face.
Keep going. This is
Hello and welcome to the Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and we work our way to 100% fresh. I'm Max.
good. And I'm Scott, and today we're talking Los Angeles Confidential, rated 99% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So we're talking Topeka Confidential.
Topeka.
Why we pick this one, Scott?
I picked it.
Why'd you pick this one?
So don't try and shoulder your way into this choice like I did last week to you.
Scott's choice, right?
Yeah. They're all Scott's choice. I picked it because it's a movie I love.
There you go, folks.
like-
Join us next week when we. Never mind.
I like film noir, and this is like a modern retake on it because it's not like truly a
In ways,
noir.
Yeah,
I think they purposely did things that were different.
for sure.
But it's just a really good movie, really good cast, and the script is top shelf. And I know my boy Maxie likes a period piece.
It's a good movie film.
I wanted to give Max my period.
Oh, your first period.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
There it goes. But
Nice.
That's why I picked it.
Well, it was good.
Yeah. And that's our show. You been watching anything cool? Give me the second coolest thing you've been watching.
Second coolest thing. I don't really know how to do that.
All right.
That's our show, folks. I'll just name off real quick.
Rattle.
I'll give you one thing I've been watching.
Okay.
We watched Dumplin' on Netflix.
Dumplin'.
Dumplin'. It's a movie.
Tell me more.
It's a coming-of-age film.
I'm in.
It stars Jennifer Aniston as well as a couple younger up-and-coming stars. It's about the daughter of like a Texas beauty queen who grows up with that in that household, and she's kind of like a. I'm trying to think of she like walks to her own drum basically. She's kind of a bigger girl, but she's into Dolly Parton a lot, and her aunt got her into that Dolly lifestyle, and it's just kind of her dealing with like the shadow of her mom while also deciding to kind of step into her own.
Yeah.
It was actually really good. It was really like.
Is it a new release? I haven't actually heard of this one.
It's within the last couple of weeks, I would say.
Right on.
No, it was really good. It was really enjoyable. The conflict feels real. It's a good coming of age story.
Yeah.
When we had Miles on, we talked about help me here. I said the name of the movie last week.
Spectacular
Now.
Now.
And we discussed different coming of age films,
Yeah.
and one thing we addressed was that there's just not enough like female based coming of age films. So it was refreshing to see one that
female-led.
was very like female oriented, but it wasn't like that wasn't in any way like a cynical choice. Like the story was very, very well written. So
Sure.
Yeah, it was good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think Netflix movies, they've turned out some turds, but they've also got a lot of good ones. And I feel like that's just like the externalities of the quantity over quality per se, because I do think there's a lot of quality there too. But
yeah, I know, and this isn't anything I've seen yet, but I know Roma hits this weekend.
yeah, that's like
but it's also
Oscar
still in
frontrunner.
theaters.
Well, it had a extremely limited theater release
Yeah.
just to try and get Oscar consideration.
Yeah, and so it's some of the theaters that have it will still have it while it's hitting Netflix.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I think we're recording this on a Friday. I believe
so
it came out.
It should hit
today.
Yeah.
Cool. And then like the Ballad of Buster Scruggs was a big one that just came out. The Coen Brothers anthology little film. The Outlaw King was a big one.
Yeah.
With Chris Pine.
Yeah, they definitely stepped up their like cinema side where it feels like it could be on a theater or was meant for a theater.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is like made for TV has this like negative connotation from the old ways. But now it's,
The old
I mean,
ways.
now a lot of independent filmmakers make for VOD
Yeah.
on purpose because that's a better distribution to get yourself to have a real movie instead of just working on that indie that never gets made like it used to be. You make it, it gets on VOD, you have your actual resume started up then, basically.
Yeah, and I also feel like straight-to-TV stuff just has better reputations now because TV is
better.
prestige
Yeah.
now.
I mean,
So, like, shows like Fargo and Legion, which are the same creator, but those are just the two examples off the top of my head.
yeah.
But they're very high-quality content. They're at least on par with what you see in the cinema, so people aren't afraid to do things in alternative ways, and I think just like that's just modern technology.
Yeah.
Like every
And-
streaming service now has like a killer exclusive. You know, like Hulu has The Handmaid's Tale. That's their biggest one. Netflix has quite a few. HBO has quite a few.
Yeah.
Amazon's got a few now. So,
true.
And then movies are kind of doing the same thing. So it's
It's
interesting.
no, there's a lot there for sure.
Yeah.
But I do think it is at least destigmatizing somewhat to have your movie come out on Netflix.
Yep.
Although I heard it's not the best financial deal for filmmakers. It seems to be one of the better distribution deals as far as getting awareness for your project.
Yeah, because it's on a medium that you already know X million people have, you know, however many it is. And I feel like Netflix, sometimes they just don't advertise their stuff if it's something they don't have confidence in. And so that's like a downside. But still, if somebody wanted to search your movie specifically and it's on Netflix, it's going to be a lot easier for them to watch it. I don't know the like financial side or anything like that, but I think one advantage of Netflix is supposedly they just have a reputation for being very good with the creators and being very hands-off and just letting a creator make what they want, you know?
Yeah, I think especially once you've established a brand that's like way more, they'll let you do it.
Yeah.
So.
Like the Coen brothers, when they announced that The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, I'm sure Netflix just said, do whatever you got to do.
Like,
and I know originally it was planned as a TV show, and then it became a movie. And I'm sure Netflix wasn't just like, come on, we wanted a show.
Yeah.
That's my Netflix executive voice. And then like Martin Scorsese's got that The Irishman coming out. I think next year is what they're shooting for, and that's probably like the most ambitious Netflix film they've ever done. I think the budget was like over $200 million. So it'll be a big one.
Yeah. Well, we've chatted quite a bit of my stuff. What have you been watching?
Not much, to be really honest.
Okay. Well, that's our show, folks.
Survivor David vs. Goliath. The finale episode will be premiering the day after this episode comes out. And
Christmas Miracle.
Something like that. But it's been an awesome season, one of the best of all time. I'm calling it.
Yeah, those Canaanites really showed up.
Yeah. And they got the others out. I'm really into the David vs. Goliath story.
Yeah, those others.
Yeah. I was going to say something real stupid. I was going to say the Abelites. Because he's the Canaanites.
Write that down. I like that.
I'm not going to write it, Max.
I'll write it down.
Write it. We're going to wait, folks. Don't write on that. So we need that paper.
So we'll never forget it. Abelites.
Did you write it?
I did.
Let me see it. He wrote it. But it's been a really good season. So
nice.
I'm very satisfied. I'm very happy.
Very pleased.
Very pleased. And then I rewatched Good Will Hunting the other day.
How was that?
It's really good. I watched there's a YouTube channel called Lessons from the Screenplay, and it's a very good YouTube channel. And he did a video on Good Will Hunting that just got me like back in the rabbit hole, and then I just watched it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I heard a good interview with, I want to say it was Matt Damon a couple years back on, I want to say it's Off Camera with Sam Jones or something like that.
Okay.
He interviews a lot of just big names now in Hollywood, but it was really interesting to hear their perspective on going from him and Ben just like trying out for every movie, trying to be in everything, trying to get somewhere, making like no advancement at all for years and years and years and years, and then deciding we just have to write our movie. Yeah. Like it's kind of it's still an amazing story to hear guys like that tell it, even, you know, they're so far ahead in their careers now, but it's just,
now they're A-listers.
Yeah. They were just like, we're never gonna get the part we want if nobody gives us a chance, so let's just make the parts we want. That was cool. I respect that.
Yeah.
So
For sure. Matt Damon seems like a fine dude.
What's cool is he also talked about how at the time all the jokes like
Yeah, but how
SNL would
Ben
make
didn't
jokes.
do
Yeah, Ben
anything,
was an
yeah.
idiot. Matt was the brain, and he was like, we were equal partners.
Yeah.
He's done way more with his career
And
than
people
I
were
ever
like,
have.
Matt, we all know it was you.
He was like, I regret always just being on set and doing my thing versus Ben, who was standing next to the
Yeah.
director saying, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? What's
Yeah.
this? So,
a
it's
real
kind of interesting.
student
Yeah.
of film.
Of cinema.
Yeah. Speaking of cinema, we got my choices for 99% movies,
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
I got us there. The
We do.
99% is interesting
It is.
because, like, not many films get to 99%. It's a weird percentage.
Yeah.
So the pickings were much slimmer than the past 8 percentages,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of an
It's
interesting thing.
definitely...
Not that we have, like, a weak slate of films here, but...
I think the potential behind each of these is there.
Ooh.
But I'm already going to say I think one is going to just win the poll.
Well, what are our choices?
I won't start out with the one I think will win. I'll start out with ones that I think would be great to watch,
Okay.
but that I don't think people vote on. I'm going to start with Short Term 12.
Oh, love it.
That has Brie Larson.
It sure does. John Gallagher Jr., Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith.
Excellent.
Next up, we have Selma.
Mm-hmm.
That is Ava DuVernay.
It's a fun name to say. Duvernay.
And it's something we haven't really done too much of, which would be kind of a biopic.
Yeah.
It's about the event as well, but
but it's about Martin Luther King Jr.
Then we have
I didn't see it. Did you see it?
And I didn't see it.
That's it.
It was on my list that year, but
Yeah.
I'm not a biopic guy
Yeah, I
either.
can't get my dick hard for a
so-
biopic.
Just sounds wrong to say about an MLK movie, dude.
I mean, you brought it there. It could have been a biopic about Osama bin Laden, and I would have said the same thing.
Okay.
Actually, that sounds really interesting.
Speaking of tyrants,
Whoa.
like Osama, we have The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, that's funny.
Thanks.
More on that later.
So that wasn't your lead-in?
No,
That's amazing.
I didn't know it was on this list.
That's amazing. And the one I think will be a...
Well, The Wizard of Oz, I don't think a lot of people know. It's the first movie ever to be in color. I don't actually know if that's true.
That's like kind of the famous reputation it has. So
Oh, there you go.
there's I'm not saying that it's the first one for sure, but like it is the movie known for transitioning from black and white in the first act to color the rest of the film. So yeah.
Well,
That's why people come to this podcast right there. Speaking of color,
thought we already talked. No.
our next film is Get Out. And I feel that one's
You
just
think Get Out's going to run away? You don't think people are sick of Get Out?
No.
You don't think people are like, oh, yeah, Jordan Peele, we get it.
No,
Oh, yeah.
I don't,
That's
honestly.
fair.
I think people would like to hear us talk about it. But that's up to them. We can vote too,
Sometimes
though.
I'm not sure people want to hear us talk about anything.
I don't know, man. They might be interested in hearing our Wizard of Oz commentary.
No.
There's a lot to say about the Wizard of Oz, Scott.
Yeah. Not yet.
So if you're really excited about that, vote for Wizard of Oz.
And you know what? If you're not that excited about it, still go vote for one of the other ones.
That's true, yeah. Since there's good options across the board there.
There's 4 buttes.
4 buttes.
4 buttes.
Yeah. Speaking of buttes,
Huh?
you got anything else on this, Scott?
On this?
Yeah.
What
It's fine if you don't.
was the second one?
Selma.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you had to vote right now, which one do you vote for?
Wow. You're going to put me on the spot like that?
Yeah.
Short Term 12.
Nice.
I adore that movie. I vomit tears during that movie, to
okay.
quote you. Sort of.
Sort of.
I want the record to show that we were listening to Weezer before the podcast, and Max promised me Buddy Holly, and we never got it because we were, quote unquote, ready to start
You could have brought it up at any point, man.
Yeah, well, I wanted it to be on the record, and now I'm burying it in the middle of the episode.
It's really weird.
Yeah. I just want the people to know.
All right, people. Scott, also for the record, wants to play a little game, which was I play a Weezer song, and he guesses which song it was.
Yeah.
And then he gave up on the game.
And I lost.
10 seconds
No,
into
I didn't give up.
first.
I lost. You won. Congrats.
He said, I don't know this song. And just left the game behind.
No, I mean, I was still playing. I just was behind. I was losing. It's like you were pitching a no-hitter.
Hey.
Congrats.
Thanks, bud.
I did enjoy the Weezer more than I thought.
They're
You know
good
how
band.
Weezer got in my head?
How?
We listened to that Pitbull song from the Aquaman soundtrack, which is sort of a Toto sample. It's not really a sample.
It's sampling Africa, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, there's not any actual Africa in it. It's
the
a
chorus is
cover,
that.
basically, though.
Yeah, but the music is sampled from it, too.
Yeah.
They're sampling the song, but they are...
They're like
it blurs
redoing the
lines.
sample. When I hear sample, I always think like that it's the actual
It's
version
more
cut
about
up in a
the
way. Yeah.
music being sampled into it. So you can change the lyrical content. Like, what's it called? I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy sampled The Police, but none of I'll Be Watching You is in there because that's the song, so I'll Be Watching You. So they change it, they sample it. So they're not using the actual, like, lyrical content there.
But what
So
about
this is
like the
similar to
beats
that.
and stuff? Do they use the actual beats in that?
Some of the beats are used, and that's the same beat to Africa, just hip hopped up, you know?
Well, anyways, this still doesn't explain how it got to Weezer.
Well, they did their cover, right?
Yeah, okay, now it does.
Yeah.
I guess that wasn't that much of a leap.
I guess not.
You know, it didn't take a detective to figure that one out, Max.
Yeah. Well, I thought the Buddy Holly thing, I thought you requested that, and, I thought that was confidential. I thought that was between us.
Oh. I'm sorry for... You wanted to keep it hush-hush?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to pierce that guy code.
I mean, the holidays are right around the corner. It's going to be a bloody Christmas.
Yeah? Well, here come the crows. I didn't mean to rustle your feathers, Max.
Well, let's just split a Rolo McFlurry and call it even.
Well, you know what? I need some Spacey.
Wow.
No, wait, I
You said
don't.
it.
No, I don't want that as a son.
Yeah. You heard it here, folks.
Well, anyways, we're talking L.A. Confidential.
Dun, dun. I feel like the Law and Order thing should have happened there.
No, that was good.
Yeah.
Max, what's the plot synopsis for L.A. Confidential?
As corruption grows in 1950s LA, 3 policemen, one straight-laced, one brutal, and one sleazy, investigate a series of murders with their own brand of justice.
Yeah. It's an interesting like period piece because things have changed a ton and everything's really like on the up and clean with police work nowadays.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
No controversy. So it's interesting to like take a step back into another time when
like
not all cops were beacons of
it's
heroism.
tough. It's a tough look back there.
But it is an interest. I guess so. This is
It really speaks to all the prejudices these guys were carrying back then too,
Yeah.
because they're pretty open about it. You know?
yeah. There was no cloak and dagger to a lot of this.
Yeah. We're like half joking and half being serious here in our discussion.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's true that they right away expose how corrupt the police are that we're dealing with in the movie.
Yeah, from the top.
So the moral compass is like kind of spinning right when we meet it. And honestly, this movie's kind of hard to follow for the first like 10 to 15 minutes because you're not sure on a first viewing. You're not sure necessarily what's the main thread.
Yeah, and they plop you down in the middle of a lot of threads.
You don't realize that there's about 4 or 5 going on at the same time that are equally as important that
Yeah.
you meet all at the same time.
Yeah, and
Which is cool.
what I like, and it really comes together like from the middle on, but it really is like 3 separate investigations that they do interweave, but they do also stand on their own.
Yeah.
And but they come together in a really satisfying way. So like the 3 cops that summary mentions are Bud White, Ed Exley, and Jack Vincennes.
Yep.
Played by Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, and Kevin Spacey, respectively.
Nice.
Yeah. And they all kind of represent different archetypes of cops almost.
Yeah.
Like Bud White is like an enforcer. He's terrifying. He's
the muscle.
He's the muscle.
Yeah.
And he's got like the soft spot for women, not in like a sleazy way, but in like he sees a damsel in distress and he can't help himself but try to save her or do whatever.
There's nothing
he needs
he
to.
dislikes more than wife beaters.
Yeah, that actually might be a quote from the movie too.
It might be. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have Ed Exley, who, if there was a someone to quote unquote root for, and you just looked on paper, it would be Ed Exley, because he's the guy who's like against police brutality and most in favor of real justice, but he's also kind of a huge scumbag, and in the sense that he's very selfish and he's he doesn't care to step on someone else to get ahead.
It's funny you said on paper.
Yeah.
Because when Guy Pearce first read the script, because Guy Pearce plays his character, he said that he wasn't too interested in playing him because he was too self-righteous.
Well, that's another aspect of it.
Yeah. And so he said, like, reading it on paper, he does, like, I know what you mean by that. Like, if you list out of his qualities, he does seem the hero.
Well, especially compared to the other two.
Yeah, exactly. Because he has the shiniest exterior coming in. But
he is self-righteous.
No, totally,
Guy Pearce is right about that.
You don't really embrace him in a likable way till the very, very end of the film.
Yeah, like you can see that he would be the kind of character in another work, or like a character built around this type, the Ed Exley type, would be the likable character.
Yeah.
But you can also see how unlikable he is. Like right at the start, there's they're talking about how these like Mexicans beat up a cop, and I think he was blinded or something, or he lost an eye. I think that's what it was. And then they arrested him. They like rounded him up and arrested him, and they were in a holding cell, and like 40 cops pour in and just start beating the shit out of him. Yeah. And Ed Exley's actually trying to break them all up. And all the other cops, they have no respect for Ed. And he's pushed out. They lock him out of the room. And then there happened to be press there for something else. And so all this got out, that there was this big police like brutality thing in the holding cells, and they're kind of talking to all the cops, trying to figure out, well, who's going to go on record and say this? Like, would you like take the stand against your cops? And first you see Bud White, who's very much like a cop's cop.
Yeah.
And he's like, I would not take the stand and stuff like that. And then Ed gets in there, he's like, yeah, I would. I saw him. I saw the whole thing. And they're like, you wouldn't turn a blind eye to this? And he's like, nope. I'll confess because I want to be a lieutenant detective or a sergeant detective, whatever it was. And it was like, it's very much so, well, that's the kind of guy he is. And
yeah.
Then he leverages against another cop to get like a corroborating story. He's like, well, he really likes to be on the TV show. What was the name of the show again?
Something Justice.
It was like a police procedural show that this third cop, Jack Vincennes, played by Kevin Spacey, his character is the like police advisor on the show.
Badge of Honor,
yeah. So he immediately is like, well, go get Vincennes and tell him you're going to take away Badge of Honor and he'll corroborate my story. And he does. And Vincennes like has no respect for it. But then throughout the rest of the movie, there's a really interesting relationship between the two of them, because nobody really likes Exley at all. And so whenever he needs to work with someone, he goes to Vincennes because he almost has leverage over him, it feels like.
Yeah.
Or it's just like he has no one else to turn to. And because Vincennes also corroborated his story, they at least have that together. And then they build a relationship.
Yeah. And Vincennes also has the biggest drive to improve his situation.
Yeah.
Since he was on the show, but also had to get punished for being in that whole scenario. Yeah. They took him off the show. The Force was just like, you're a desk jockey until you get a big
going
case.
You're going to Vice.
Yeah. And so he moved off like a circuit he really enjoyed into something that he didn't like.
Yeah, he was in narcotics.
Yeah.
And he, on the side, is working with Danny DeVito's character.
One of the best, just little extra characters in this.
Sid Hudgens, who he has a magazine, Hush Hush. It's based on a real magazine called Confidential from the 50s.
Makes sense.
And he kind of serves as a narrator at the start of the film, kind of setting the scene with the setting, the 1950s LA. But his character, Sid, pays Jack Vincennes to bust celebrities for like minor crimes, like, oh, we heard this guy's gonna have weed, or oh, this person's cheating on his wife or
Or they
something.
have pornography.
Yeah, something like that. And then he pulls him out in the street, but Sid gets the scoop and gets the pictures, and then Vincennes is in the paper, so he gets a little elevated too, and he gets like $50 on the side. So
Yeah.
they've got a little racket side hustle going there, and then it goes deeper because I don't know if Sid was working with the antagonist at the end the whole time, or if it was just something at the end. I'm kind of burying the lead a bit. But
Yeah.
not
I feel
that there's
like
any
it was
reason to.
it felt
was,
like
like,
they were very
mutually
comfortable
beneficial.
with
Yeah.
each other.
That like this probably wasn't the first time they'd worked together.
Yeah. So to me, it felt kind of like there was history there.
Yeah.
But they never say
Yeah.
that I could tell.
Yeah, I didn't catch it either if
Yeah,
they did,
yeah.
but there was definitely a comfort level, and there's no reason because since we're talking about the movie, we don't really have to protect spoilers.
That's
but
true. It's true.
the big turn in the movie in the third act, it's revealed.
Also, the movie paints it pretty obviously when you think about it.
Yeah, like once it happens, you can go back and see that all the pieces were there.
Yeah.
And that is like the hallmark of a good mystery, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I always hate when I'm watching a mystery movie and the ending, the big reveal, is something that wasn't on screen, or the information wasn't presented to you, so there was no way that you could have even pieced it together if you tried. But this one, it turns out that James Cromwell's character, who's like the chief of the police in this precinct, he plays a character named Dudley Smith, who's, I don't know how Irish he was, but he still definitely had a bit of an accent.
Yeah, I assumed he was like a generation removed or
Yeah.
something. Or
And he has lines where he's like, I wouldn't trade places with Ed Exley for all the whiskey in Ireland.
he used the word boyo like
Yeah.
naturally.
So he definitely was some Irish.
Yeah,
but
yeah. He's coded that way.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
it's revealed that he is the pulling the puppet master behind the basically all of those separate crimes that they're investigating throughout, which is things like shootings, like pairs of assailants assassinating like the lieutenants of this big crime boss who they just locked up.
Yeah.
And then there's another shooting, like a massacre at a coffee shop, and then another like associate of this person dies. And when you put it all together, it's revealed though that Dudley Smith, he is kind of taking over that crime throne, and so he's taking out all the lieutenants of the old crime boss. And then as he's taking it over, he's also tying up all his loose ends. So that's how the other corrupt cops that he has, they've been offed as well.
And not only is he doing this now, but him and a couple of the other cops have been running this circuit for decades,
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah. Like they go back through some of like the arrest logs of some of the questionable cops, and they find every time it's the same two cops with Dudley Smith as the commanding officer. And
Yeah.
so then when they arrested, it was like Mickey something, right? Or
Which one?
Mick Conley, like the crime boss that was arrested like
Oh, yeah.
at the start of the movie that kind of kicks off everything. Mickey Cohen.
Mickey Cohen,
Yeah. So when he's arrested, it's like they kind of step up even more, and they take out all of his he's if
it's a
he's
power grab.
if he's the king, they take out his knights and his bishops and his rooks and his
Ooh.
pawns.
They played checkers.
Yeah. What? You play checkers?
I said it was checkers. They're playing checkers. I meant chess, but I was making a joke.
No, yeah.
So they play Chinese checkers.
I don't know how to play Chinese checkers.
It's just marbles you stack up. I never actually played the game. I had a Chinese
That's actually
checkerboard,
what
though.
the rule set says.
Yeah.
It's just marbles you stack.
Yeah.
But do you need 6 people to play Chinese checkers?
Do you?
I mean, there's 6 points on the star, isn't there? Or 5, maybe? I don't know. Depends on how Jewish it is.
Chinese Jewish checkers.
Yeah, was Marco Polo Jewish? We won't get into it.
He's Italian.
Yeah. Write that down. The cool thing is that the 3 separate investigations, I was talking about how they interweave, but they're also like very tied to the characters. I feel like Bud's side of it is he starts by investigating the guy who runs the prostitution ring, where he's cut up the prostitutes to look like famous actresses. And that very much suits Bud's story.
Yeah.
Ed's story is all about finding the true assailants at the shooting, at the coffee shop. What was the name of the coffee shop again?
Night Owl.
The Night Owl. Yeah, the Night Owl shooting.
And his motivation was his father was a cop who
Yeah.
died in line of duty.
Yeah.
And he wanted to surpass his father's skill, not just as like a way to best his father, but to honor
Like
his
as an
memory.
homage.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
So he wanted to make sure he lived up to his father's legacy and surpassed it to like live a complete life, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And then Jack is kind of following this lead of somebody who, when he was working with Sid, it was an actor, like a small-time actor that I think was sleeping with like a more well-known woman, like cheating on her husband, I guess. So he gets them locked up, and then after the guy's out, Sid's setting up this like this sting where the district attorney is going to be sleeping with the kid, and he's like a very young
he has
kid.
a very James Dean attitude.
Yeah,
to him.
I think that's definitely the basis of it. And Jack definitely feels bad about that because the arrest definitely put him, made the kid desperate to do this
he basically
kind of thing.
ruined a kid's life
Yeah.
and is being complicit in ruining his life a second time.
Yeah,
The ends being that they get money.
yeah,
It's like super shitty, and the result of that is that the young actor gets killed.
yeah,
And then that's kind of when he develops a conscience finally.
yeah.
So it's really interesting too, because that's about halfway through the film that
Yeah.
his plot like fully kicks in.
Yeah.
Because they're just building up to it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat that these other two guys, you get theirs right away, and you don't even realize this dude plays the same level as them in the entire story.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool because he just seems like a sleazy
Yeah.
side guy.
Yeah,
you know?
like I figured he was just going to be information, but not like a main piece. But then later in the movie, he really does become one of the main three.
That, like second act, he really drives a lot of the action in there.
And I was reading that the studio was very pessimistic or apprehensive about having a movie with 3 lead actors in it, truly lead actors, because you usually get one.
Yeah.
And I don't know that any of them were up for like awards that year for the lead, because how do you pick one?
Yeah.
None of them got nominated for the Academy, at least.
Yeah.
But
somebody from the movie did, right?
oh yeah. The movie was nominated for 9 Academy Awards,
Yeah.
and it won 2.
And that's probably just because it was going against like Titanic.
Yeah, every award it lost was won by Titanic.
Yeah.
But
And
it
then,
got like Best Picture, Best Director noms and everything. But then the wins were for Best Adapted Screenplay, which is the reason I love the movie so much, and then Best Supporting Actress, the lovely Kim Basinger.
Is it Basinger or
I don't know.
Basinger?
I don't know.
I've heard both.
We can Kim, if you're listening,
Is it
love to have you on
James
the pod.
Gandolfini? I think.
How dare you? Is this because of that Buddy Holly stunt I pulled earlier?
Completely.
Wow.
Anyway, the film very much what's interesting is Bud is a man of very few words. You know, we meet Bud.
Yeah.
He's unless he's angry about seeing a woman get abused, he doesn't open up much.
Yeah, a lot of his emotive moments are very physical rather than emotional. Like there's one scene where he has to be held back by like 9 cops, and it looks very realistic that he'd have to be held up by that
We were
many.
joking that was just like not even acting. It just takes that many people to hold back Russell Crowe.
And it's because Ed is like throughout just like making barbs against Bud, and they're very antagonistic throughout.
Super, like that's when you start to see the real ugly side of Ed, because when you first meet him, he does seem, you know, the pretty heroic dude.
Yeah, he's getting interviewed by the newspaper, and they're like, "What's it going to be like this Christmas here?" And
they're like, "You're so young. Should you even be
be in charge of the watch?"
Yeah, and then everyone's like, "You need to take off your glasses. You don't look like cops shouldn't have glasses.
Yeah.
Lose the glasses." They just constantly say it to him. So he almost starts out with this like underdog vibe. Like you said, traditionally he would be the driving force in a film like this, but then you also see the ugly side because he sets up Bud's partner to he doesn't set him up. Bud's partner did wrong, but he makes sure the dominoes fall to knock him out because they need a scapegoat.
Yeah.
He's already guilty, so just let him be the fall guy, you know?
Yeah, and for Dudley, the James Cromwell, the chief, that's fine because he's starting the process of tying up those loose ends. So he probably didn't argue too much at Dick Stenson or Stensland, being kicked off the force. And but then he keeps making little prods at Bud about it. He's like, "That's just like how your partner got kicked off the force and then he died."
Yeah.
And then that's when Russell Crowe's like, "Well, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm Bud."
Really just no chill between the two of them.
And then like later during an interrogation, they were talking about like these these three men that they had rounded up were talking about how they raped this woman because
Yeah.
the one guy needed to finally lose his virginity to prove he wasn't queer is basically like the thread there. But
Yeah.
this triggers like Bud's like protective instinct of women, and he's like leaning against a chair and he literally shatters the chair under his hands and runs in and like shoves a gun in the guy's mouth and gets the answer. But it's like another moment where it's pure physicality from Russell Crowe.
Yeah. And that's after Ed had spent time like breaking each suspect down basically.
Methodically and not by the books necessarily. I guess he didn't, like, I don't know, he was doing some play with, like, he was turning on the speaker in one room when the guy would say one thing, when he'd set him up to say the one thing. That's not, like, scummy or anything, I don't think. I don't know if there's rules
I mean,
about
he,
that.
he is manipulating within.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was within the rules to me.
But and same thing here, and it was working. Like, it was pretty clear that he was going to get to that confession when Bud rolls in, slams the guy against the wall, puts a gun in his mouth with one bullet, and is just, like, clicking and clicking and clicking. So it's just kind of funny. You have like the
urgency was completely different. Yeah.
You have that death by 1,000 cuts, and then you have the like one swing of a mallet style,
like a tree.
Yeah,
swinging a tree. At
but it's another perfect like duality of the two characters. And then later in the movie, they get in a fight, and I thought Ed was just gonna get his like head ripped apart like the mountain did to the cobra.
Jump it. Speaking of cobras, so jumping back a second to the interrogation, that came about because they had a lead. They were looking for a certain car for the Night Owl
from the
murders.
Night Owl murders. Yeah.
When they finally tracked down, I believe it was Vincenz. Is that his name? Vincenz. He knew a dude who would be able to rat out who did it, basically, like kind of guess at it, and so. They got the info they needed. They went to the locale and realized one of their cars was there. Yeah. And they go into the garage.
And the matching guns were there.
The car's there, the matching guns. Like it's all there basically. So like this is our place. They run in. It's three young black men.
Yep.
The two cops that were already there were just trying to shoot them. Yeah. Like they had their guns out, and Ed actually hit the gun up to stop it from hitting one of the guys. Yeah. They arrest them. They bring them in.
Yeah.
And so during that interrogation is when they realize this rape's happening.
Yeah, because they're interrogating him for the Night Owl crimes.
Yeah.
And for a couple minutes of the interrogation, it seems like they're like getting onto it, but then it's revealed that the crime that these three guys are essentially confessing to was a totally unrelated crime.
Yeah. What's super interesting, and I didn't even realize it until I thought about it 2 days later, is the first witness says, right when Ed's leaving the room, he says, you know, it doesn't look good for you, buddy, because you haven't even asked what you've done yet.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about two separate things. Yeah. And that's like really, really great writing right there.
And even if they were talking about the same thing,
it was blurry enough in that first interrogation,
but it's like, why are you even answering these questions? What, like, if you didn't do it, you would be like, well, what am I here for?
Yeah,
but they weren't asking that.
Because they all knew they were guilty of something.
So it works on multiple levels.
Exactly, yeah. So it's just like a really good like little thing you just don't even think about until later, but then in the scene you don't think about it because it gets so urgent that they have to go to this
exactly, like the foot's on the pedal there,
and then
there's more that happens because they get to that scene and there's a few more men there, and Bud saves the day. And is that also where Ed kills a few? No, that was later on.
It's after. So what happens is basically Bud comes in. Like we said, they let Bud go in first because they know he's a fucking madman. Understandably so. He goes, he sees the girl that is, it's very brutal. She's tied up. You can tell she's bloodied.
Yeah.
She's been raped. And he hears a loud TV. So he sneaks
she gestures
That's
at
true.
the door.
She gestures. Yeah. And because he's like looking around with his gun out. And he just walks in the room and shoots the guy watching TV. It's like a large black guy.
Yep.
And then he puts the guy's gun.
Then he shoots like the door frame and puts a gun in his hand. Yeah.
So it's very much like you could see that early corruption that was revealed is still there.
I mean that's happening throughout.
This one is like justifiable in a sense because it's an ends to the means, you know.
And that's one of the points going on throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Like when Ed is like, I want to be a detective. I want to be a detective. James Cromwell's character, and this is long before you realize that Dudley is like the real antagonist.
This is where he basically tells you he is without you.
Yeah.
you're just like, okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
He's like, Ed, you couldn't handle being at a crime scene. He's like, are you willing to plant evidence on someone that you know is guilty?
Yeah.
Are you willing to shoot someone who you know would shoot you before he would and stuff like that? And Ed's like, no, I'm not willing to do those things.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be a good cop. But it also kind of speaks to how in that point where Dudley could, to an extent, justify what his actions were.
Yeah.
Like his whole taking over the crime side was just pure greed.
Yeah.
But as far as like, because there's constant planting of evidence and shooting people for no reason. And
and we find out later the two cops that they thought had already caught their lead were planting the guns in the car.
So the three black guys that they arrested had nothing to do with the Night Owl.
Yeah.
They just had a car that kind of fit the leads that they were going on. And
now the only
so
funny moment that happened, I think, in this portion was when the cops all run out to go to go see what's going on with the rape scene, basically, to understand what's happening there. When they get that lead, they all run out. And I jokingly said to you, because when they ran out, I noticed all the doors were still open.
Yeah.
It was almost comical, like a Keystone's Cop thing. I was just like, and that's how they escaped. And then literally with after that scene.
Oh, yeah. You mean when they left the police station?
Yeah, when all the cops ran out of the station. Yeah, exactly. The three suspects were still in the room, and at least one of them was uncuffed smoking a cigarette by this point.
Yeah.
They just ran out like crazy. It was almost comical to me, not in a
they're
bad
all chasing
way,
Bud.
but because they're all trying to see, like, it's exciting. But then I was just like, yeah, okay. Then they escaped, the three suspects, and literally that's what happened. So I thought that was just kind of a funny moment, whereas me being dumb, I didn't think it would actually happen.
And then it did.
And then it did, and then it kind of worked still. Like, it didn't bother me at all.
Well, and the other way it could work is there is some corruption going on still, so you could think, hey, maybe some of the cops in the force let them out because they know it'll help their story. And then there's another scene later where after that escape happens, Ed catches up with them, and he guns them all down, justifiably because they were shooting at him and trying to escape. But then later in the movie,
and
when
that
it's
was
revealed,
one of those mistake shootouts. Though.
Yeah,
I don't remember how it happened first, but somebody either made a noise or moved too fast. I know he didn't have his glasses on there, but he had a shotgun.
Yeah.
And then the guy he was with was one of the gun planters.
Yeah.
So I don't remember exactly how it.
He either just immediately shot or. Yeah, there was a sudden movement.
Yeah.
But then one of the guys does pull a gun and Ed has to gun them all down. They start calling him Shotgun Ed.
Yeah.
Because he kills like 3 or 4
in
people.
Shock afterwards.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. And it kind of goes back to that early scene when he's like, I'm not, can you handle the blood and guts? Are you willing to do these things? He becomes
like a local hero immediately.
Yeah.
But is also, and also this is when he redeems himself with the other cops.
Yeah.
They didn't accept him until this moment.
At least to an extent. Yeah.
Well, here they started like working with him.
Yeah.
Except, Dudley obviously knew and had plans, but the other cops were willing to work with him until the very end. But
there's so many good details too, like going back to the scene where Bud shoots the guy who was raping the woman. Again, justifiable, but when he's leaving that scene, Ed is like, "Oh, he really shot at you first?" And Bud's like, "Yeah, he shot first." He's like, "Yeah, a naked man was sitting there with a pistol in his hand because the guy was just like in an undershirt only or something." And it's like, yeah, Ed's obviously caught on to this, and there's so many little details like that work. The best to me is there's like a 10-minute sequence where Jack and Ed are talking, and Ed explains, he says to Jack, he's like, "Do you want to know why I became a cop?" And Jack is like, "I don't care. Why did you become a cop?" He's like reading notes and like crumpling up paper, and he talks about how his dad was shot and killed, and the guy got away. And he's like, he was like, his name was, or he was Rollo Tomasi was what he said.
Yeah.
And Jack's like, "Who's Rollo Tomasi?" He's like, "He's no one. The guy he's the guy who got away. My dad's killer. He got away."
Yeah.
And so I just gave him that name, so I had something to drive against. And then he's like, "Jack, why did you become a cop?" And Jack just looks at him. He's like, "I don't remember." And that's a really good showing of those two characters right there.
Yeah.
And then they really start working together and investigating more. And like Ed kind of is bossing Jack around. He's like, "You go back and talk to the coroner and do this." And Jack's like, "Really?" But he does it. Like they have that respect for each other. And then Jack ends up at Dudley's house, like in the middle of the night. He goes and because he's questioning him about like, "Oh, did this cop," I forget the name of the other cop, but one of the other dirty cops, he's like, "He always was working with you on this,
Buzz
this,
Meeks.
this." Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when Dudley's making him tea or coffee, but he's like, "Have you told Ed everything that you found?" And he's like, "No, I haven't gotten to talk to him yet." And then immediately Dudley spins around and shoots him with a pistol. That's the reveal.
Yeah.
But then what Jack says is he says Rollo Tomasi. And when you're not really thinking about it, it almost seems like a planted thing, but it works so much for the character moment because Rollo Tomasi is the guy who got away.
Yeah.
In Jack's dying moment, he sees the police chief shoot him and he thinks, you're going to be the guy who got away. You're Rollo Tomasi.
Yeah.
And then a couple minutes later, at the next scene, Dudley's leading a briefing for all the cops, and he's like, we have to find the guy who killed Jack. And they talk about how they planted the body in Griffith Park or something. And it's like, we got to find the guy who killed Jack. We're going to go two-man team, start here. And then as everyone's leaving, he pulls Ed back in. And he's like, Ed, I want you to investigate this name, Rollo Tomasi. And Dudley thinks it's going to be related to all the things Jack was telling him, and he wants to tie up that loose end, but it immediately keys Ed off because that's only personal to Ed, and the only person he mentioned to him is him. It's the perfect writing, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, it's a really good way because they literally had that conversation.
Yeah.
They won on that case. He went to the corner, and then he got killed, so he could have not talked to anyone else at all. So the only way Dudley would know that is if he killed him.
Yeah.
So it keys the guy in. And what's cool too is the thread that led him there, like we said, was the other cop, Meeks, that got
Meeks,
killed.
Buzz Meeks.
With that, we know that Bud had already discovered Meeks' corpse.
Yeah.
Like Bud is on this case coming from a different angle.
Totally different angle.
Yeah, completely unrelated. So we know, the audience knows everything that's happening kind of by that point. Like, it's all revealed. But there's just a few little loose ends that we don't know yet. But by that point, it's just like these guys need to work together.
Yeah.
And now that Jack's dead, we know they're not going to work together because there's one huge thing that gets in the way that we barely have even mentioned.
Yeah,
yet.
I was about to say. So Bud has this relationship with Lynn Bracken is the name of Kim Basinger's character. She's one of the prostitutes working for Pierce Paget's group. I forget the Fleur de Lis was the name of the group. Anything You Desire. And Bud meets her when he's I don't think he's investigating the other dead prostitute at that point, but
he is because he saw her in the car.
That's right. Yeah, when Lynn was there too. Yeah,
and so he was able to track them all back from the liquor store he was at.
Yeah,
which is when his old partner was like, "I never seen that guy before." About Bud Meeks.
Yeah,
or Buzz Meeks.
Yeah,
yeah.
But so they have an actual relationship because, and in Lynn's own words, she says Bud doesn't see her as, I don't remember which actress she was.
Veronica Lake.
Yeah, Veronica Lake.
Yeah.
But you don't see me as Veronica Lake. You see me as Lynn Bracken.
Yeah.
And they go into her nice little bedroom that has the pillow with Arizona and the city she's from. And
what's nice with that is this is where it differs from a noir because it's a neo noir. But in a typical film like this, you do expect her to betray
the femme fatale.
Yeah. And in this one, they build an actual relationship the entire time.
And they're still building up the betrayal angle, that it's going to happen, but
and a betrayal does happen to a degree,
but it's not her.
It's not her. Exactly. She's a victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
And he is too, to a degree. Mm-hmm. I'm not, covering for what he does, because basically what happens is, what's his name? The Hush Hush guy.
Sid Hudgens.
Sid, basically, what he does is he gets these photos with these prostitutes, with powerful people. We've seen them already in the movie. They show a politician who has to deal with it. And so they do that with Ed. Yeah. Going, he goes and investigates, and then it gets called in that, go take the photos.
Yeah, Ed is talking to Pierce, and then Pierce immediately calls, I would assume he calls Lynn and Sid probably around the same time. Yeah. But then Sid is also working with Dudley because they're using this as a way to drive a wedge between Bud and Ed,
also to tie up those two loose ends.
Yeah, because he's tying up all the loose ends.
Yeah.
Which is everyone he's ever worked with who might know anything about it.
And so his plan almost works. It gets very close, but at the last second, they find out that their fathers both had the same name, which was Martha, so they stop fighting.
Yeah. No, this is actually well written.
But no, they... So it does drive that wedge between them. They do get into a fight, but before the fight actually happens, we see the dark moment for Bud because
he feels betrayed by Lynn,
and he goes and confronts her
in the rain.
And obviously, wrong move here, but he does strike her twice, and so it shows his moral character has failed as well.
Yeah,
and it's we've seen him do dirty cop things already.
Yeah, but all those moments are still for the
the greater,
the justifiable good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want people doing that in real life, but in the movie you get it.
Yeah.
And then that is when we see him cross the line.
Yeah.
And he immediately just runs off. Like he knows he's crossed the line because we've heard about what his father.
You could even say he scampers off.
Yeah, he's like shocked.
Yeah.
And she falls down. She's honestly, she looks more emotionally damaged than she does like physically damaged.
It's probably the one person she's trusted in a very long time, and he gave her the old
later
slapping too.
When her and Ed talk.
Yeah.
Ed apologizes on his behalf.
Yeah.
But she says, like, I know I hurt him just as bad.
Yeah.
And in any other movie, I would be like, that's kind of weak because you shouldn't abuse women. But in this one, it's like they were kind of both victims of that circumstance. Like there were so many things out of their control that led to that, where it's like she understands.
Yeah, because she
why things happen, how they happened. She's not saying it's okay. She's
knows
just saying,
more.
That she knows that there's things here that are basically life or death by this point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. She's not complicit to say in
No.
Bud's portrayal, but she recognizes that she is a part of it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't separate herself from that. And that's a nice tie. I don't remember the specific lines, like things.
It was a good line, the exchange they had.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Between Lynn and Ed it was, but I'm thinking back to Ed's investigating all these crimes. He gets to the point where he's looking at the booked crimes and sees it's all those dirty cops together, and he's finally putting all the pieces together. And that's when Bud shows up and is literally beating the snot out of him.
Yeah,
and I don't remember specifically what was said, but Ed is essentially able to get through to him that they have to work together or else he's going to get away with it.
Yeah.
And he probably uses the angle of like he's hurting Lynn and
I feel like
he killed your partner and all of these different angles. I don't remember the specific piece that was said, but
he either brought up Meeks.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a Rollo Tomasi thing, but it might have been.
I don't think it was a Rollo Tomasi thing either, but it worked in the moment. Like I remember not thinking like, how did that happen? Or thinking that the character turn of Bud from going from 11 out of 10 anger to let's work together was unnatural. I thought it worked.
Yeah.
But where it ends up is they're at the hotel where Dudley was constantly working, particularly with Bud, like beating the shit out of people to get answers or to just kill people. Yeah. Where Sid had died about 15 minutes earlier after that betrayal.
Yeah.
But then again, tying up loose ends and just it's like a scene out of a video game. Just cars just keep pouring over the hill of people, and Ed is like, we have to go, and Bud's like, it's too late or something like that. And so then they get in this one hotel room, and it's easily the most action-packed moment of the movie, but it's just like a hunker down shootout.
Yeah. The best line though in that whole sequence from the beginning of it, because there's another good like portion at the end, but is when he says, all I wanted was to, fulfill and surpass my dad's legacy.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, he died in the line of duty.
Yeah.
Now's your chance.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, yes, like that's what I want right there.
Well, to me, there was one better line throughout the shootout. There's kind of like, generic's not the right word, but your standard shootout moments. Someone pops to the window and they shoot them, and they cover up all the doors and windows with mattresses and stuff, and then they get in like essentially a crawl space. You don't really see buildings with this anymore, but they just like peeled up the wood and they could walk around under it. And Bud goes down there and he shoots a couple guys, and then someone's about to kill Ed, and Bud just shoots out of the darkness there, and he says a great line right then. He shoots the guy and he pops up and he says, "This Bud's for you."
It's one of the best written lines in the movie, hands down.
That's why I picked this movie, was for that joke I just did. That line doesn't actually happen, but that moment does, and it's badass.
Yeah.
Out of the darkness, just the light of a shotgun. But then it ends up with Dudley. He's in there. He shoots Bud, and I thought he was dead for a second, but it ended up he wasn't dead.
Yeah,
but he was out for the count.
But Bud does it like a twist, and toss. And I believe Ed's already been hit, like grazed with a couple bullets, but not taken
little
down.
Shoulder wound.
Just a flesh wound. The cut under the eye, that kind of stuff. But no. So Bud takes a bullet, goes down, and then
he gives him a little stab. In the leg.
Yeah. So we get a last second stab on your boy Dudley.
Yeah. But then Ed is able to draw a shotgun again on Dudley, and he kind of drops the guns. But then Dudley's trying to talk him into being like, "Hey, don't shoot me!" He's like, we'll be fine together.
You want to be chief of detectives from now on? You got it, man.
Yeah.
And he just like turns and walks, and he says, "You might want to put your badge out so they know you're not cops and shoot you."
and Bud says, or not Bud, I'm sorry, Ed says there's like Rollo Tomasi.
Yeah.
And I don't think Dudley still even knows what it is because he doesn't explain it.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. You're going to be the guy who gets away with it.
Yeah.
But then after it gets the drama on him, they draw it out for longer than
And
you'd think.
What's cool with it is the entire movie
Yeah.
Dudley's been spending telling him it's all politics. Like
Yeah.
you're really good at the politics part. You're not good at the grimy part of this. Like as far as the smooth talking, the leveraging, you got this down, dude. Like you'll be fine with all that.
Yeah.
But you don't have the balls to do all this terrible stuff
Yeah.
I said. Shooting someone who you know will shoot you.
Shooting someone who you know is guilty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like planting evidence on someone who is guilty. All
Yeah.
this stuff. So then Ed steps
Yeah.
up with a shotgun and just goes ahead and takes the shot.
Yeah, they changed the angle to be outside the hotel room,
Yeah.
and Dudley's walking out with his badge out and his like hands raised, and you can't see the door or anything. And then blast into the night. Dudley falls over and Ed got shotgun. Ed got him.
Yeah.
You know, and then he takes his badge out as all the other cops come out because there's probably like 40 dead people.
Yeah.
And
Tons, yeah.
Bud turned out to be okay, and then they just kind of tie up the movie where Ed leverages it for a promotion.
I don't remember which one of us said it. I think it was me. But when the last time they showed Bud in the actual shootout,
Yeah.
they show Dudley just like kind of aim his gun and shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
But it goes through his cheek. And I went, just a flesh wound. Or maybe you said it, but I think it was me.
It was probably you.
Yeah. But it was just like a stupid one-off line. And I was actually really happy
Yeah.
in this case.
That it turned out to be
Yeah.
just a flesh wound.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they do like it's not the Medal of Honor, it was like the merit. It was like
Merit
the
of
Order of
something,
Merit
yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. It was like the
Well,
second one that he's gotten.
What's cool though is before that we got that cool interrogation
Yeah.
scene where we see the inverse of his awesome interrogation
Yeah.
skills of Ed's skills, where he flat out tells him, "Yeah,
Yep.
I did shoot Dudley because this, and that," and he lays out the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's like, it was super corrupt, and the DA who they got the dirt on and exposed earlier is there and can corroborate it.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, he's fine. But then we see him basically angle that, yeah, to not destroy the city, you have to make it look like Dudley was killed in line of duty, but there
Yeah.
should be more than one hero.
He's playing the
Yeah.
politics side of it still.
Yes.
So he gets the promotion he wanted, and then Lynn comes up to him, and she congratulates him, but is also like kind of
sad.
skeeved
Yeah.
out by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, if they're going to use me, I might as well use
Yeah.
it to my ends too.
Yeah.
You know, for as long as they want to use me. And then they go outside, and Bud's in the car. That's when it's really revealed that he's alive,
Yeah.
because to that point you don't know.
And you can tell he's damaged.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
he
He's like
has-
slumped
yeah,
over in the back
yeah.
seat. He's all
He has like a
bandaged up,
an IV type thing on him
In his
or
face,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
which you don't see that
Well,
often.
probably because he got shot in the cheeks.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah. So you might, I don't know what
I
it did
get it.
exactly, but
Yeah.
it did something.
Yeah. But then him and Ed have a nice handshake, and
Yeah.
Lynn and Bud, they drive off to Arizona.
Yeah.
Bada bing.
Get outta
Movie
here.
ends. You mentioned this while we were watching the movie, but it's not the kind of movie you can just kind of plop down yourself in front of
Yeah.
and enjoy, because it is intricate and layered. And I don't think it's that hard to follow per se, the total package, but you really do have to be paying attention.
Yeah. No, like I said, the first 10 minutes,
Yeah.
if you're not paying attention, you will miss so
Yeah,
many
because there's
things.
details there
'Cause
that come up later.
I was paying attention, but there was so much information that I was just, like I said, I mean, the first time we meet the main female
Yeah.
of the film, the female character, you also meet, the one who gets killed.
Yeah.
You meet two of the dirty cops who get killed
Yeah.
by Dudley, who you just met like seconds ago.
Yeah.
It's all there. It's all
Yeah,
just
all
like
the pieces are
perfectly-
on the board
Yeah,
already.
and it's just they're all introduced all at the
Yeah.
same time.
And then a lot of them are
Jack's
taken away
introduced.
and-
Yeah, exactly. Like so much of it's happening
Yeah.
at the same time. It's insane.
Yeah.
So as you get deeper in the movie, it's easier to see where it all began. But when you
Yeah.
first see it, it's,
You're just it's like
all
an
there.
information overload
Yeah.
that you don't know how to fully process, and then everything sorts itself out eventually.
But what's good about that is they trust their audience and they write it smart.
Yeah, they don't pander.
Yeah.
They do a couple flashbacks, but never anything that made me feel like my hand was being held. Like
Yeah.
they'll show like the overlay of the face saying a line, so that like it like jolts like six other pieces to fall back in line that
Yeah.
need to. And I mean that's why it won that best screenplay.
Yeah,
It was good.
good.
Yeah.
This film won all of its critic awards
Okay.
that it was nominated for that year.
Yeah,
which the
99% of critics
four-
agree.
Well, the four big critic awards, which I'm trying to remember what they are. I had them pulled up a second ago. Anyway, it has
Yeah.
a couple other peers. So it
Guy
won.
Pearce.
It won the National Society of Film Critics
That'll do
as
it.
it was ranked as the best film that year. The New York Film Critics Circle was that year's best film. The Los Angeles Film Critics Association and the National Board of Review voted it the best film of that year.
The Big Four, as they call
There
it.
is, the Big Four, and there's two other films. Did you see them already?
No, I didn't know this. So.
Do you want to guess the other two films?
Can you give me the years?
Yeah, I'll give you the 2 years. So it's two other films that have all the Big Fours. It's one is a 1993 film and one is a 2010 film.
Shawshank Redemption?
No.
Forrest Gump?
No.
Am I in the wrong year? Were those 94?
Those were 94, 95.
Fuck me. Social Network.
That's
for
one of them,
2010.
yes, that's 2010.
What would be the 93 year? Give me one more clue.
Period piece.
Dances with Wolves?
Nope.
I could keep guessing, but I don't think that makes great radio.
It doesn't. Schindler's List.
Dances with Wolves.
Schindler's List.
I think, pretty well regarded.
Yeah.
That's good company. You know?
It was hard to pick one hint for that because if I went like too obvious, which the rest of my guess is what the rest of my hints
Liam
would have been.
Neeson.
Yeah.
Taken.
Nell.
I feel like LA Confidential gets kind of lost in the shuffle because 99%, 9 Oscar nominations, awesome movie. Like that's a big 3.
Everyone
but
I know who's seen it swears by it, but that's the issue. Is I don't know tons and tons of people have seen it.
And to me, and the movies aren't similar, but it reminds me of Heat a bit, where Heat, great movie, well regarded, but there's a lot of people who just haven't seen it because long run time. Heat is way longer than this movie, but still together it's a long run time. And when you hear like that summary alone, it doesn't sound like it's necessarily going to do anything special.
Yeah.
This sounds like it's going to be a 1950s cop movie. Yeah. And you've probably seen a dozen of those. Heat is a bank heist movie. I've already seen Point Break. I'm good. But no, these movies are doing excellent work. But I feel like I don't hear like my peers talk about LA Confidential that much.
I'll agree on that. A lot of this won't be talked in like college dorm rooms, how people talk about stuff like The Dark Knight, like something that is good and is more of a pop culture film.
And they're definitely more like mainstream's not the right word. This had a full release. It made like 70 mil.
Yeah, this is mainstream, but it's more highbrow.
Actors. Yeah, it is a little more.
So it's like you do have to pay
attention.
Per se, but it's a mature film, and it handles the subjects very well, and it's really well done. But it's action packed, really, when you think about it, and it's full of like amazing actors. So it's really good. I hadn't seen it, and I'm glad I finally watched it. It's been on my list forever.
You're welcome.
Tip of the hat,
a tip of the critic's hat to you.
Big 4, more like Big 5 critical breakdown on that list now.
Oh, Scoots Academy. This was written and directed by Curtis Hanson with Brian Helgeland on the writing as well, who did A Knight's Tale.
I was gonna quiz you on some of his films. Can I quiz you on some of the others? Can I quiz you on some of his other films?
42.
That's another one.
We talked about him in the Knight's Tale episode, but I can't remember.
The Postman.
The Postman.
Mystic River.
Oh, I fucking love Mystic River.
I feel like
these are Brian Helgeland's other films.
Yeah.
Curtis Hanson was another writer director, but this was easily his biggest film.
Yeah. Curtis Hanson died around 2016. Yeah, because 8 Mile was probably his biggest film.
And he didn't write that one; he just directed that one.
Yeah, he just directed it. And he directed this one. But Robin Hood, the Ridley Scott one, was also a
Brian Helgeland written creation.
And he has a new movie coming out sometime next year, I think.
Oh, you don't sound excited.
I'm mixed on it. It's called Gemini Man. I don't know if you've heard of it at all.
No, that's probably not a good sign.
Well, it's starring Will Smith and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. So, that's a mixed bag for me there.
Get you.
But it's apparently a sci-fi film, futuristic scenario where Will Smith plays an assassin, but there's clones in the world, and now his clone, a younger version of himself, is hunting him down to kill him.
Looper.
Yeah, it just sounds like Looper to me.
Who's directing that one? Is Helgeland directing it? Because Helgeland does a good bit of direction, too.
I think he is. I know he wrote it, but I don't remember if he's...
I would think...
He's just writing it. So directing is Ang Lee.
That
Scott's interest just went through the roof.
Well, I'm such a sucker for Ang.
Also has Clive Owen and Benedict Wong.
Benedict Wong's good too. Clive Owen's good. I mean, that's a lot of talent.
It is.
It's a strange concept because it doesn't sound that original. And I don't know if it's going to make 2019 because I feel like a movie with that cast would have already had a trailer if it was coming out in 2019. Like that's not going to be an art house movie. That's going to be a wide release.
October 2019.
Will Smith doesn't do art house.
It's still apparently
almost we'll see, I guess.
Just shy of a year away.
That's interesting though.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is Curtis Hanson had always been working at, not always been working on LA Confidential, but when the studio started work on it, it was always on Curtis Hanson. But Brian Helgeland was always very interested in this work. It's adapted from a novel.
Yeah.
Very loosely adapted, but kind of like how The Iron Giant was adapted sort of in name only. But Helgeland was always very interested in the property, and when he found out it was being worked on, he kind of desperately pitched to go for it, but the studio wanted to go for a more established writer, and Curtis Hanson had done some more stuff at this point. But then after they talked, they realized that they kind of had the same ideas, and they worked together on the script.
And the original novel was by James Ellroy,
who
apparently has like an LA quartet of novels.
Crime novels,
maybe with some of the same characters and concepts.
I'm not sure, But this movie, and I'm not sure if the novel LA Confidential, but the movie is also very loosely inspired by some actual crime events in LA.
Yeah. Bloody Christmas was one.
And like Hush Hush, like I said, was based on the Confidential.
And I believe
newspaper.
Cohen was a real person, or somebody.
Mickey Cohen sounds like a real person.
Like either that was a real person, or that's just like
based on
a name for a new version of that. Whoever actually existed at that time period.
Exactly.
Now, before we watch this, last week when we recorded, I did reference Chinatown in our closing line, which I know you mentioned you gave a shot, but you need to give another shot later on.
Yeah, I'm due for another shot.
That is also a movie like this where if you're not paying attention, you will not know what's happening.
Yeah.
And you'll just kind of not engage. So, I mean,
that's why the hour-ish nap I took during it didn't help my enjoyment of the film.
Yeah. But it very much, a lot of it feels very similar in ways to this, where it's about corruption, not necessarily police corruption, but corruption in general. Yeah. It's set in a period of LA before we're familiar with it. And they chose to do just natural, more normal, like cinematography and lighting to not make it, that black and white noir feel.
Yeah, and in this LA Confidential, they also very consciously filmed it in a modern style.
Yeah, which is awesome. I think it adds a lot. But so there's a lot of cool, like, not ties in any single way, but it has kind of a similar aesthetic to it. Yeah. So I do recommend Chinatown. It's a very tightly written
still
movie,
planning on giving it another go. Like what I saw didn't take me out. Like Neighbors 2, I watched 6 minutes of, and then I was like, I know this isn't going to be for me.
I was on a plane once, and about 6 to 7 people were watching Daddy's Home 2.
Oh, yeah.
And they all got 13 minutes in exactly. I ended up timing it because it was an international flight.
Were they in separate parts of the plane?
Yes, and at separate times. Not a single person made it past 13 minutes.
I'm imagining 6 separate people independently starting Daddy's Home 2 at the same time.
I wish.
And stopping it at the same time.
I wish. That would be amazing. This one was kind of amazing too, because when you think about it, that's an hour at least. My screen was broken and I had to wait for them to fix it. So for about an hour and some change, I watched 6 different seats start Daddy's Home 2 and stop at 13 minutes in.
Now, have you tried watching Daddy's Home 2? It's streaming.
I watched 13 minutes of it 6 times in a row with no volume, and that was enough for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
But what I thought was ludicrous was...
is this about Daddy's Home 2?
Yeah, it's about the choices of films, because there was 2 better options that everyone on the plane should have been watching.
Daddy's Home 1.
No. Bahubali 1 and 2.
What?
Were on that plane.
Yeah, people should have been watching that.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, some people, I'm not gonna. I hate to assume where they were from, but a couple people looked Indian, and I feel like they should have, watched Bahubali.
Maybe they'd already seen it.
Yeah, I'd already seen it.
Who cares?
And I was pretty mad my screen wasn't working because I wanted to watch Bahubali. So
I got one more LA Confidential thought for you, and it's something I've teased to you. A Wizard of Oz tie-in.
Huh? You know, that's one of our options for our poll this week.
In a way, you could say that Bud, Ed, and Jack are seeking a brain, courage, and heart. Bud is seeking a brain.
Damn.
Because he's not just the muscle. He's actually investigating, and he does express during the movie that he's more than just muscle, you know, and people get so scared of him, and he doesn't resent it, but he doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Ed is the by-the-books cop who can't handle the grisly crime scenes. He's seeking the courage to live up to his father's legacy and exceed it and get the justice that's needed. And Jack has strayed so far from why he became a cop, he doesn't even remember why he became a cop. He's looking for the heart.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He wants to solve a crime that he has personal ties to. He wants to help somebody. So they are the Scarecrow, the Lion, and the Tin Man.
Can I show you something else?
You always, yeah.
I'm not
And
taking it.
Lynn is Dorothy.
Well, Dudley, the man behind the screen, is the wizard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Kind of works.
It does.
Like the evil wizard, but still.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah.
But
And,
that's cool, right?
You know, the woman who dies at the beginning is the witch.
Yeah.
Ruby Slippers, baby.
Ruby Slippers.
That could be a good like noir character name, Ruby Slippers.
Baby. My name is Ruby Slippers, baby.
Scott, where can the good people find us?
Oh boy, you can find us having a hot cup of that fresh Java at the what was it called again?
The Night Owl.
At the Night Owl. Or you can find us at thecriticalbreakdown.com, or on Facebook at The Critical Breakdown, or on Twitter at BreakdownCast, or on Vine at... No, we don't have a Vine. You can find me begging Pierce Paget to make some cut-up hookers to look like my favorite celebrities so I can have sex with them. Or you can find me at breakdown_Scott on Instagram and Twitter, or at my hot new vlog series at the Critical Breakdown's YouTube page.
Yeah.
Another vlog up there for you folks. Little BTS behind the scenes.
It's going to be hot. You can find me looking for Rolo Tomase. Or you can find me at Max Rivera Film on Twitter. Jason Brown did our music.
Josh Rivera did our art.
And Walter is the LA Poodle.
Yes, he is.
Next week, we're going to spend Christmas with our loved ones.
You.